We really got something in.
What do we got?
An idea.
What idea?
New McDonald's menu items are always big news, and a lot of them don't always last a very long time. A Big Mac or McNuggets can be enjoyed time and again, but some menu items just fade off into the distance. What if one of those disappearing foods happened to be your favorite? Well, you're out of luck with these 10 McDonald's foods you'll never get to eat again.
Never again.
McPizza.
Pizza, 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 pizza!
Who doesn't love a nice slice of pizza? Or two, heck, maybe even three. What's not to love? The melted cheese, the succulent pepperoni, the sauce rich in garlic and seasoning. It's enough to take you all the way to Italy, and without having the need to board a plane and endure the rough flight back. But of course, not everyone does it right, and there are many pizza joints that miss the mark altogether. We're sure you've all had such experiences. Maybe the cheese isn't real mozzarella, maybe the pepperoni is gross and badly cooked, maybe the crust is so big and doughy. The taste of the actual ingredients get completely lost somewhere along the way. Whatever the case,
Now make with the pizza, fatso!
not everyone does this creation of epic proportions justice. But for McDonald's pizza, there were a definite meshing of reviews, as there were those that absolutely loved it and would love to see it back on the menu, and of course there were those that detested the pizza with a passion and are happy that it probably won't ever make a return to a McDonald's restaurant near you. It was first added to the menus in Canada and was a pretty good selling point there, predominantly among children. It made it to the States in the 80s, and yet it didn't survive the tumultuous winds of the 90s. Two locations in the US did still keep it on, however, Pomeroy, Ohio, and Spencer, West Virginia. But even those two locations couldn't keep the McPizza going forever.
Be true. I won't believe it.
Fish McBites.
McDonald's new Fish McBites.
The McDonald's menu has seen quite a few fish options over the years, and most recently they've added the fish and chips menu item that's creating a decent amount of buzz. But probably the most famous is the fish fillet sandwich, which has been on the menu for quite some time now and doesn't seem to be going anywhere, thankfully. But the same cannot be said for the fish McBites, if you can remember them at all. The fish fillet sandwich was added to the menu in the 60s, and as we mentioned, it was received quite well.
Fishy, fishy.
But these bites were introduced in 2012, which makes them a very recent menu addition in terms of how old some of these other examples are. Fish at McDonald's was first added because of the large amount of Christian clients that flooded the restaurant in the 60s. Because of Lent, a period of preparation for Easter, many Christians abstain from meat on particular days, like Fridays. So the fish items first appeared on the menu to facilitate this group of the clientele. It was also a great option for many other religious groups and nationalities that abstain from meat. So fish has always been a top seller at McDonald's. Except for these little buggers. The Fish McBites didn't end up doing so well in the end. We hope the fish and chips do better. After all, even though this item is fried and in a batter no less, it is a bit healthier as well, as fish contain omega-3 fatty acids. So if you're sad to have missed out on the Fish McBites, be sure to give the fish and chips a try if you haven't so far.
Fish, McBites, McBites.
McSalad Shaker.
Unlimited salad and breadstick special.
Everyone tries to eat a little healthier these days, especially during the summer when beach weather is looming just around the corner. A menu item like this would have seriously done well right about now, right? Maybe not. At the end of the day, McDonald's thrives on the tastier items it sells. And by tastier, we do mean naughtier. How many of you have ever told yourselves that today at lunch, you'll go for the healthier option? Today, you won't cheat on your diet, but when you make it to the food court, those golden arches pull you forth like a magnet pulls at metal. We're sure it's happened to you all, and the addition of a salad option on the menu still won't deter you from chomping down on that double quarter pounder with cheese, as the failure of this item proves. McSalad Shakers were easy to consume, as they were served in cups, and all you had to do was add your dressing and shake up all the ingredients. But still, that facilitation wasn't enough to get the throngs of people that flooded the restaurant want to buy them, no matter how many pounds they wanted to lose.
You're even looking healthier. The world must see the new Grizz.
The McSalad Shakers were dropped off the menu in 2003. Now, salads in general are a great lunch item, but maybe McDonald's isn't the best place to look for it. You know, as the popular saying goes, don't look for good pizza at a steakhouse. Well, you shouldn't look for salad where the hamburger and fries reign supreme.
Fries.
Fruit and walnut snack.
So fresh, so sweet, so real.
Now, if you take a look back at the annals of time and see just how many McDonald's food items have been done away with like we have, you'll definitely be shocked. We've just touched the tip of the iceberg and have selected some of the most popular. But it is really incredible to see how many failed items they actually served over the years. Just goes to show that not all the items served at the Golden Arches are golden, so to speak. Take this healthy snack option, the fruit and walnut snack. For starters, this item, or something like it, can easily be found at your neighborhood grocery store.
Grocery shopping is so boring. It's like the most boring thing you could do on the whole earth.
One doesn't need to actually go to McDonald's to get something like this. And as it turns out, not many people did, especially when there are so many other tastier things to choose from. If you walk in there and want a snack, and not necessarily a meal, you can walk away with many of the McValue items, which are cheap and light. Who couldn't eat a single cheeseburger in between meals? This fruit and walnut medley was done away with in 2013. Besides, if and when you were inspired to purchase one of these in the spirit of good health, you almost always raced back in line to order a double cheeseburger and fries, especially if you happened to be seated in the restaurant still when you were finished with your fruit and nuts.
Hey! Drop those nuts!
McDonald's chicken fajitas.
Oh, fajitas! Ow, hot plate!
Probably one of the single most successful cuisines in the US and in parts of Canada is Tex-Mex, thus the massive success of restaurants like Taco Bell. Who doesn't get a massive craving for a really good burrito or a nice crispy taco every now and again? We know we do, as most of you probably do as well.
Where's my burrito? Where's my burrito?
So it wasn't long before the good people at McDonald's decided to add a little Tex-Mex flair to the menu. Now, the breakfast burrito that was brought on has done well and is still a top seller on the famous McDonald's breakfast menu. But the chicken fajitas that they had added to the lunch and dinner menu didn't survive the 90s, unfortunately. This item, like so many of the others on this list, wasn't at all bad tasting. It was actually good.
Delicious.
But the reason that a menu item disappears isn't always because of how it tastes. This one is definite proof of that. Perhaps the public figured that with Taco Bell out there pushing out decent Tex-Mex, maybe they'd go down to the old Golden Arches for what they did best. And that was hamburgers and fries, not fajitas.
Well, I better get going. I've got a long night ahead of me.
McHot Dog.
Hot dog!
Now, when you think burgers and fries, you immediately think of hot dogs too, as they are the staple of North American carnival and recreational diet. Who doesn't have a hot dog and fries every now and again, especially when visiting a carnival or amusement park? And it just makes sense that McDonald's would serve this other staple in such foods, doesn't it? Of course it does. And the fast food restaurant titan definitely did serve hot dogs for a time. But as it turns out, the public really wasn't buying them as much as originally expected. Truthfully, this one's a bit of a paradox, as you'd think that this item would have done better than the salads and snacks, and yes, even more than some of the burger options that came and went. But no, we know that in certain North American cities, you can practically get a good hot dog on any street corner.
Whoa!
But still, its inclusion on the menu at your local McDonald's would have simplified the situation when somebody in your group wanted hot dogs and somebody else wanted burgers. Instead of going to multiple locations and eventually meeting up, you could have gone to the same place and enjoyed a great conversation as you chomped down on the goodies only McDonald's could amply provide. This item failed harder than some of the other fare, and it left executives scratching their heads a tad. And we must say, that's reasonable, as you'd think a hot dog would sell pretty well at any fast food joint, especially one as cheap as it was. Back at the inception of the franchising of McDonald's, Ray Kroc actually stated publicly that he would never allow hot dogs on the menu, as even back then, quality control would have been an issue with these tasty little dogs. But yet his warning would not be listened to by those that followed in his footsteps.
Whoops.
Triple double burger at Mickey D's.
The burger to be a gift from a more highly advanced civilization from beyond the stars.
As we stated, not all of the burgers and fries on the menu did well, as this one here proves quite nicely. There are a lot of fast food chains that have multi-patty burgers. And yes, as does McDonald's still to this day. The Big Mac has 2 patties, but the Double Big Mac has 4 patties, and it's an item that has done considerably well. But the Triple Double Burger was a burger that people didn't exactly gravitate towards. Interestingly enough, it was launched as a promotion for the 90s era superhero film Batman Forever, but it didn't survive the decade it was introduced in. This, as well as a few of these items, would seem to do quite well in this era, however.
You have my attention?
As bigger is definitely better, despite how many people are eating a tad cleaner. Burger King, McDonald's direct competitor, has many multi-stacked hamburger options, and so does Wendy's. So maybe the good people at McDonald's should think about trying this one out again, only this time they should probably try to attach the promotions to a better film.
I already got mine.
McDonald's Spanish Omelet Bagel.
Yummy.
The name sounds really appetizing. In fact, as we work on this one, we find ourselves getting a pretty big craving to give this one a try. But to our deep chagrin, we can't, unless we somehow find the recipe and start sauteing omelets right here in the office on a portable burner. Not likely, we know. And we're sure you're too busy to try that as well. But this item was a decent item, and many enjoyed the international flair it added to a breakfast menu that back in the day was a tad boring, we'd say.
This is almost too exciting.
But as it seems, the general public was weary of changing the dependable status quo that we all get a little attached to every now and again. The spices and taste that this item brought were definitely not for everyone, especially those that liked their food to be simply prepared and readily available. It was on the menu until the early portion of the 2000s, but went the way of many items we'll never see again. So if you were the type to enjoy a little of the old Spanish flair with your morning coffee, we're sorry for your loss.
I can't deal with anything until I've had my after-nap coffee.
The McAfrika.
It's delicious.
And talk about an international flair. The McAfrika pushed the boundaries of what McDonald's was willing to offer its consumers. Of course, the biggest leap in that direction was the flat bread that sandwiched this item.
It's a great morning, no matter how you slice it.
A type of bread that is particularly popular in Africa and the Middle East, hence the sandwich's name. Now, most in North America didn't even get to taste this one during its one and only run, as it was introduced in Norway during the Olympic Games held in that country. But many believed it to be in horrible form, as it was launched at a time that Africa was suffering one of the biggest famines in the continent's history. It was discontinued in 2002, never to be seen again.
I came in with my wife and now I can't find her.
McDonald's chopped beefsteak sandwich.
That's our new chopped beefsteak sandwich.
Here's an item that's served in almost every diner across North America. It was released way back in 1979. It's easy to prepare, and the meat is readily available in such types of restaurants as well, as it's really just chopped hamburger meat formed to look like a steak. Essentially, it's Salisbury steak, and if you top it with caramelized onions and some gravy, you've got a more sophisticated menu item. But really, all it is a hamburger, just worked around in a different way. Many restaurants like to have this on their menu, as it shows the customer a different item, but the restaurant won't suffer any extra losses, as the ingredients used to prepare this dish are pretty much already around, as they all probably prepare countless burgers for their own clientele.
Let me show you how to take care of these bad boys.
Now, McDonald's actually introduced this in sandwich form and gave it a name all its own, but perhaps the issue lay in that very very name, as the public was probably anticipating actual steak in that sandwich and not the minced meat variation they got. And there wasn't an ounce of steak sauce that was going to convince them that it was actual steak, no matter how many dollops covered the piece of meat and onion. They should have called it the Salisbury steak sandwich. Maybe it would have fared better in the end.
Nothing fixes bad times like good food.
Stay right here for more of our great videos. Just tap that screen. Checking us out for the first time? Then go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to join our notification squad.